This is Umar Ahmed for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast, joined by Ben Davison. Busy as always in the gym, got a lot of fighters cracking away. We'll start with Leigh Wood. Must have been unbelievable news last night, the news you've all waited for. He won't be allowed to unify. He's got to defend against Lee, given 24 hours to accept. Has he made that decision yet?
Yeah, from our understanding, they've agreed to make that defence. And Matchroom and PBC will be in discussions now, or starting negotiations very shortly to see how they can make that fight.
Stylistically, how do you think that plays out? A fantastic fight between Leo and Lee.
Brilliant fight. He's a future Hall of Famer, Leo Santa Cruz. Top level fighter, a real elite level fighter. And it's a great scout for Lee. You know, he's on a fantastic run. Mick Conlan's a world-class fighter. Kanzu's a world-class fighter, and you know, this is the elite now, and it's the next step up. So, you know, of course they're all tough fights. You don't get any easy fights at world level, but it's a challenge that we're more than ready for, and more than confident of being able to overcome.
Were you confident the WBA were going to rule in your favour, essentially?
We wasn't sure, but we wasn't sure how that was going to go. But was, you know, everybody believes that was the right decision to make. We just didn't know what decision the WBA were going to come to, but yeah, it was the right decision to make for sure.
Bit of a mad journey for Lee. I remember a couple of years ago speaking to yourself when he came on board, and we were discussing the fight with Reece Mould, and that was sort of not a guarantee that Lee would win that fight. In fact, I think bookies may have had Reece as favourite, I'm not too sure. And then a couple of years on, the names you just mentioned there, the win over Conlan, Kanzu, and now we're talking about a fight with a future Hall of Famer in Leo Santa Cruz, someone known globally. It's a bit incredible what Leigh Wood's done. Yeah,
obviously going into the Reece Mould fight, it was we had 7-8 weeks together. And Reece Mould's a real quality fighter, a tough fighter, a big, strong guy at the weight, and a handful for anybody at that weight. But Lee bought into it. He just trusted. He may not have had the full understanding of the philosophy that we tried to carry here at the time going into the Reece Mould fight, but he just listened, followed the instructions, and ever since then, you know, his understanding of the philosophy, his understanding of what we want for him, why we're asking him to do certain things has grown and grown and grown, and I believe that it's clicked, and he's starting to see boxing in the same way, and that's been represented in the results and performances.
So am I right in saying at the moment Matchroom and PBC are in negotiations about that fight in terms of the split and the deal, etc.?
Yeah, well, obviously it only happened last night, but those negotiations will obviously start very shortly.
Have they given you, as in Matchroom, a projected date? Obviously nothing finalised at the moment, but sort of October, November time, is that what we're realistically looking at?
I would imagine so, but there's not been any of those talks of when at the moment.
Hopefully that does get over the line ASAP, because it is a fantastic fight. What's the latest with Josh? Obviously he's not in the gym at the moment, so what's going on with Josh Taylor?
Josh had his wedding. He's training up the road with Terry at the minute at Lock End. You know, obviously Josh has been vocal and made it clear that the Jack Catterall fight was the fight he wanted to have. Made that clear and evident by vacating the WBA and the WBC and saying that he's staying at 140. So that's the fight he wants. That's the fight we're looking for, and hopefully that can be done. And he'll be back in the gym very shortly.
Ben, I watched the documentary that the BBC did with Josh, and there was a couple of points in this gym where he said to you something's not right. He's not sparring right, he doesn't feel right, he doesn't feel motivated. Now, why do you think he was making them comments, and was that a warning sign to you in camp?
Yeah, it was a bad camp. It was a very bad camp, and it's not a case of making excuses, not taking nothing away from Jamie, Jack, any of the team over there. You know, but it was a bad camp for Josh. Injuries, COVID, long COVID. I think there was a lack of not respect for Jack, but there was a lack of fear factor, motivation, if you want to call it. So it was far from a great camp when you compare it to the other camps that we've had together. But you know, it's not making any excuses. The fight was the fight. What happened happened, and it's now generated into a much bigger fight, or a huge fight now, in my opinion, and one that Josh will definitely be fully motivated for.
I know he was coming off an incredible achievement, becoming undisputed champion, then having to go into that mandatory defence against Jack. But it was an all-British fight. You guys were constantly adamant that you weren't overlooking Jack Catterall. So, as I said, was that not a warning sign to you, a red flag that he was saying, I'm not motivated for this? What was going through your head when he was saying that?
There was discussions at the time to not do the Catterall fight and move up originally. That was like, the discussions between the team was, look, is that motivation going to be there? Do we just move up? But at the same time, we had to be honourable and respect the word that Josh had given, that Jack stepping aside for the Ramirez fight to allow Josh to fight Ramirez. Josh was going to give Jack that opportunity, so we had to be honourable with that, and Josh wanted to do that and stand by his word, and I think you have to respect that. Of course, COVID, injuries, things like that, was there warning signs? For sure. Obviously, there was no secret. That's why the fight was originally pushed back. But it was a mandatory. You know, Josh wanted to be honourable with his word, as I said, and it was a fight that had to happen and had to take place. So, you know, that's the way it is. Sometimes you got to work through it, and that's what we did.
He's still confident that he makes 140 fine. I'm guessing he didn't make it very well last time, though.
No, he didn't make it very well. I think that was evident. But again, you know, you're asking me these questions. I get that. It's your job to ask me these questions. But we're not sitting here making an excuse, bringing these things up. You know, what happened happened. The fight is the fight. It went how it went, and between us, we know that the corrections that can be made, the adjustments that can be made to make sure better preparation, better prepared, and in better form going into the fight. So yeah, that's it. Look, the God willing, the rematch can happen. That will speak for itself.
Okay. And on fight night, I know you're not going to go into specifics, but what were you not impressed in terms of Josh's performance? You're not going to go into specifics because that rematch is looking like it could happen. But yeah, what were you looking at Josh and thinking, you're not doing this right? Because we've seen him practically be punch perfect up till then.
Yeah, I think there was an element of, with Ramirez, you know, game plans were, there was an element of respect, an element of not fear, but an element of, if I get it wrong, I could get beat here. I don't think Josh had that in his mind against Jack Catterall. I think that I'd said that the home advantage may be a disadvantage early on in the fight. I said that before. I felt like Josh put a hell of a lot of pressure on himself, was expected to almost blow Jack away, and I knew that Jack was underrated. Jack's a quality operator. I knew that Jack was underrated, and stylistically Josh couldn't be in a rush, but that's what he was. He was in a rush. And I feel like that rush come from emotions, expectations, pressure that he was putting on himself, feeling like he had to match these expectations and not actually just do what he does well.
If this rematch does happen, is there a chance it takes place out of Scotland? Because see, Jack did come last time. We know Josh kept the belts and is still champion, but because of what happened after the backlash, etc., is there a chance this happens in England?
I don't know. I mean, venue availability, capacity, expected capacity, numbers, business. You know, that's for promoters to deal with. So we'll have to see. But obviously, Josh, being the champion, he'd probably prefer the fight to be in Scotland and want the fight to be in Scotland. So I suppose that'll be first choice.
Last one on this. It talks about motivation, fear factor. Going into that rematch, if it does happen, those things won't be a problem this time around, will they?
Look, there's always going to be problems going into fights. You never...
No, in terms of him not being motivated enough or having that fear factor. They're not going to be issues anymore.
Josh will be extremely... I know he's extremely motivated for this. Even at his wedding, on his wedding day, it was hard to, trying to not talk about it, but he was constantly talking about it because, he wants to go in there and put a solid performance on. But look, what's forgotten is what was being posted before the Jack Catterall fight was Josh's record of his opponents, 100 and whatever it was against one defeat over his last 6-7 fights or whatever. People are just very fickle. People forget these things, and not many people's been on a run like that. You're not going to be able to perform at your absolute best every single time you get in there. And when you're boxing at world level, that will sometimes show that you're not at your absolute best every single time. But the main thing is the fighters that still come out with a win, still able to perform and still able to get through it, and are versatile and can make adaptations and adjustments and deal with having an off night. And that's what Josh done.
We move on to next Saturday, live on Channel 5 on the Wasserman card. Your boy Pat McCormack is out. Great to see him back out after his professional debut. You just told me off camera how special he is. What we're going to see next Saturday?
Cool, calm and composed performance. That's what we're after. I know that people want to see, the expectation of what they should see and what we would like to see. What we would like to see is composure, working on things that... because it's at that point in his career where the development process is vital. Rounds are important, time in the ring is important. Unfortunately, he only got about a minute in his first fight. I haven't even had him back to the corner yet. So those things are important to me. So it gives us a chance to see, okay, he dealt with this well, he dealt with that well. If someone just walks in there and blows somebody out, then you don't actually get a chance to see where are the strengths, where are the weaknesses. You can see it in the gym, but those things may change and not be the exact same things that you see on the night, under the light. So it's important for us to see those things because we plan on moving him quickly. Billy Joe the other day said he reckons he's the most talented fighter he's ever seen. And he's phenomenal. I've worked with the best fighters in the world. A few fighters that are in the top 10 pound for pound list and or have been in there as well, and I know quality when I see it, and that is potential stardom.
Okay. What's going on with Luke?
Luke, he's got a little bit of an injury at the minute, so hopefully we'll be looking to get him out probably late September, early October.
You've got to big him up as well now because you've just given like a mad speech on Pat.
Luke hasn't had his debut yet, but he, everybody talks about Pat, but Luke is very, very special as well, for somebody that is known to have a certain type of temperament, extremely composed, made adjustments to his style, can seriously punch, explosive, and you'll see once he gets the ball rolling, you'll see what he's capable of, and he's certainly a future world champion as well.
Lee McGregor and Shabazz Massoud both said they're looking to hopefully get out next month. Let's start with Lee. He's saying he wants to move up to super bantamweight if the opportunity presents itself at bantam. On the world scene, he's happy to do that, but yeah, he wants to begin a new journey at super bantamweight. Just talk me through your guys' decision behind that.
He's obviously been massive for the weight for a long time. Again, struggling with the weight, and needed to make that adjustment, needed to move up in weight. It's a big part of preparation, and preparation can go absolutely perfect, but if making weight does not go ideal, that can have a heavy impact on how you perform on the night. I think that with Lee, there was also an element of when he boxed Gurphy, it was supposed to be a tough fight, and Lee blew him away very early. I think there was an element of Lee's own expectation again on himself of, I need to do that every single time. That come from actually being composed, picking his moment. I think last time there was a lack of composure, wanted and was chasing the same result that he had with Gurphy, but didn't approach it in the same way that he did Gurphy. So, with Gurphy, he was composed, relaxed, didn't expect to blow him out in a round, but knew exactly what he wanted to do, when he wanted to do it, the scenarios that he wanted to create and how to create them. And that's what he done there. I think he was looking and forcing to create that same scenario, which is the wrong mindset to go in with. So moved up a weight. We'll see how the weight cut goes and how he makes that weight. Like you said, if opportunities open up at bantamweight and he's fine making super bantamweight, maybe there is room for him to drop back down to bantamweight. But we'll have to see, one fight at a time. He's only had 11 fights. 11 fights. It's not, as much as he's achieved, that's not much experience, and there's a difference, So I think it's important that he has those fights for development again, to bridge that gap between European level, fringe world level, into world level.
And at 25, he's just bought himself a house, so congratulations to him.
Brilliant, amazing. They're the sort of things that, as a coach, as a boxing coach, your focus is on the boxing, but, also as a human being and a friend to the boys as well, those are the sorts of things that make you smile and that you want to see, that they're making the right decisions inside and outside the ring.
In terms of Shabazz Massoud, he's raring for a big fight. He believes that no one wants to fight him. There's been talks about the Jack Bateson fight, potentially. They're both with Probellum, and Shabazz has just responded to a few comments that Jack made on his fight week. Both fought Ruiz as well recently, so yeah, that could be a potential fight. But you guys are all adamant that no one wants to fight Shabazz Massoud.
Yeah, look, it's an extremely high-risk fight, probably for not much reward, people would say at the moment. But, again, brilliant fighter, waiting for his opportunity. He's been patient. I believe that he's made a couple of statements in his last few fights with Ruiz, and can't remember the name of the last guy, but stopped him quicker than Inoue stopped him. Those are good statements, and those are the things that he needs to be doing. So I think if he can do that, if we can get him a named opponent to make a statement on that, that's sort of what we're looking for next. And again, around that European fringe world level is what we're looking for.
Just to mention your other guys quickly as well, Royston, Barney Smith and Chris Congo. What's the latest with them?
Yeah, I think Royston's got a date in mind, but obviously it's not my place to say or announce. So I think he knows what he's got coming up. Chris, I think he's waiting, has a rough idea of when he'll be boxing. He's waiting on confirmation on that as well. So yeah, everybody's busy. Chris has been away in Marbella with Jamie, living it up a little bit, and back to work.
Okay, just a couple of things before we close off. Looks like Deontay Wilder is set to return to the heavyweight division. Ben, a guy that obviously you've been in the opposite corner to with Tyson Fury, seems to not get the respect of the UK fans ever. Do you get that feeling as well? I just don't think he gets the credit or respect from boxing fans, especially in the UK. Do you get that feeling as well?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe because of the way that he went about the after the second fight with Tyson, the way he handled that and those kind of things. Or even, I think it was after the first fight as well, wasn't it? So maybe that has a part to play. But look, you can't take away the facts and the numbers of what he's achieved, how many title defences he's had, and what he's achieved, and not to forget what he got into boxing for in the first place. So he's got my respect, and he's probably he is another future Hall of Famer.
Aside from Tyson Fury, because that would be a fourth fight, and I don't think that's going to happen, give me 3 names you'd like Wilder to fight.
Dillian Whyte, Anthony Joshua, and Usyk.
Okay. All right. Yeah, he's rumoured to face Robert Helenius. What do you think about that as a potential return?
Good fight. It's a good fight. I was actually thinking, I know that Chisora got the win back against Pulev recently. I was thinking Helenius would be a good opponent for Chisora to put that one clean as well. I know a lot of people believe that he won the first fight as well. So, yeah, look, Wilder's got an experienced team. They'll know what the right fight is for him to come back to. They'll know where he's at, what he's got left, etc. So I wish him all the best.
A lot of people in the sport are against a fight between Deontay Wilder and Derek Chisora. Do you share that same sentiment?
Yeah, I don't like that fight. It's a bad fight for Derek Chisora. That styles make fights more than levels. Bad style matchup, terrible style matchup.
And just to close off, I did speak to you briefly about Joshua's chances against Alexander Usyk on August 20th in Saudi Arabia, but as I said, it was a brief conversation. He gets a lot of flack for the first fight, Anthony. Did you think he performed as bad as people make out?
I just think he went about the fight in the wrong way. Naturally, Southpaw orthodox, there's always going to be a little bit of lead hand play, we would call it, a bit of lead hand play. But I don't think he was educated enough with his lead hand work to be able to match someone like Usyk in that manner. So there's things that he can do to not completely take that away, but help take elements of that away, so he hasn't got to think as much and be a little bit more proactive, which will stop him being caught reactive, because Usyk's good at selling you one thing, hitting you with another, lulling you into situations that you didn't realise were happening, those kind of things. So, and I think it is important that he makes Usyk work at a pace that Usyk's not going to be comfortable at, that he controls areas of the ring. That's how he's going to be able to do that. And eventually starts backing Usyk up to the ropes where Usyk's unable to use his feet, and going to be harder for him to get counters off in those situations. But to be able to do that, he's got to be doing the right things, and positioning is vital in the fight for him. But look, great team around him. I'm sure that he'll have a fantastic game plan, and everybody doubted him being able to win the Ruiz rematch, but he did that, and hopefully he can do this as well, and hopefully it sets up a massive fight with Tyson and Joshua in the future.
We have seen Usyk in competitive fights before, Bradis, Hunter, Bellew even. So we know Anthony last time, as you said, probably approached it wrongly. However, those fighters that I mentioned, Bradis, Hunter and Bellew, still got found out when Usyk got into his rhythm. So how important is it that Anthony breaks up his rhythm early on?
Vital, and that's what I mean by being proactive, not reactive. So, and again, positioning is going to be key to make Usyk work at a higher pace than what he wants to. If you're allowing him to dictate the pace, it's hard to explain without going into, too much detail and demonstration.
Do you see a clear way and path that Joshua wins that fight?
It's not going to be an easy fight. It's not going to be an easy fight. Stylistically, somebody like Usyk against these bigger heavyweights is always going to be a tough stylistic fight. He's a very, very intelligent fighter. Very intelligent fighter. And he's not an easy man for anybody to beat. Do I believe he's capable of winning the fight? Yes. Do I believe that he can control the fight? Yes. Do I believe that he'll still have sticky moments? Yes. Do I believe that he could be behind and getting beat in the fight but still land something that can change the fight? Yes. I do see ways that he can win that fight. But I also see ways that Usyk can win that fight. I also see ways that Usyk can bring Joshua onto a shot, or establish a left hand to the body, switch it up top and land something that could potentially a fight-ending moment can come from. So that's why it draws so much interest, though, because there's so many possible outcomes. If we sat here and all knew the outcome, then people wouldn't tune in. So it's a great fight. and I can see ways both guys win, but you know, nothing against Usyk. I would just like to see Joshua win the fight.
Just to pick on something you said there, is that something Usyk did really well last time? I think it was the first round. He stunned Anthony with a big left hand.
Yeah, he was aggressive straight away, and he plays his left hand off each other, so it's straight down the middle, downstairs into the pit of the stomach. He'll throw it straight up top. He'll bring it round the side up top. He'll create a certain rhythm with his lead hand, then break it. Very, very intelligent. His timing, if you push him back, he'll reset. His timing on the reset to claw back the initiative and claw back positioning. He's a very, very, very intelligent fighter.
Ben Davison, thank you very much for your time.
I think he punches harder than what people would think.
Thank you very much for your time. Best of luck with Pat McCormack next week in Newcastle. Everyone tune in live on Channel 5, and we'll see you up there, all right?
No problem, mate. Thank you.
Welcome, Team Everlast, to the Team Everlast Fitness app. Download the Everlast Fitness app and find your greatness within.